Hey gang, Jerry here, and today we're going to have another video in our 35 hot rod truck build series. We have the truck in a rolling chassis, as you can see, and we're going to be talking about kind of the things that I've ran into getting the truck into a rolling chassis at this point. But some of you that have been following the videos, you might notice there's a new addition to the shop here. We have a vehicle lift now in the shop. This is a A+ vehicle lift, twin post lift. Ordered right off of Amazon. I have another one of these exact lifts in the other part of the shop. I've had it for 2 years now, and I absolutely love this lift. Currently, right now, at the time of this video, they're going for $2,500 off of Amazon, free shipping. So if you're interested, there'll be a link in the description down below. But 10,000 pound lift. If you're putting it on a 4-inch slab, which we have here, it's rated up to 9,000 pounds, and it's perfectly fine to put on a 4-inch lift or a 4-inch slab. If you want to go to a 6-inch slab, then 10,000 pound rating, but 4-inch slab, 9,000 pound. And I'm not going to be lifting anything more than 9,000 pounds. Of course, the truck, when it's done, is only going to be about 2,500 pounds, so we're perfectly okay. But as far as the rolling chassis goes, let me get it up in the air. I'll get the tires off. We'll look at the front suspension in a lot more detail. We'll look at the rear suspension, and I'll tell you what I ran into getting the truck at this point. So bear with us. Okay, we have our wheels and tires off. So front suspension. Front suspension went pretty smoothly, but I want to point out your upper control arm, your lower control arm here, and your inner links will come bare metal. So the suspension is one of the very first things you're going to be working on when you get your kit. So whether you're going to paint, chrome, or powder coat these parts, those you're going to want to do right away. Right after you get your kit and do the inventory, make sure you get these finished the way you want to get them finished, because you're going to be working on those very quickly. As far as the suspension goes, everything went pretty smoothly. I do want to note on your inner links here, they can go two different ways. You can see that I have the bracket with the straight portion of the bracket facing to the front of the vehicle, and that is exactly the same on both of these. So your inner and outer, the straight part of the bracket is facing straight toward the vehicle. So if you look down at this angle, you can see that we have an angle here and a straight part here. The straight part is towards the front, and the same thing on the rear one. The straight part is going to be towards the front. That is for the lower position mount for the truck. If you're doing the hot rod, the 33 hot rod may be different for your application, but for the truck, that's how you're going to want to set those up. The manual does talk about that. It's pretty clear as far as that goes, but I just wanted to point that out. As far as this bar goes here, this bar comes with an anodized coating on it. I see a lot of people actually either paint or powder coat this part. I left it unfinished, just with the anodized coating. I believe it gives a good contrast to the front suspension. The only thing I really don't have locked down yet are my castle nuts. My castle nuts are not torqued to spec yet. I'm waiting for a crow's fit. I could not get my torque wrench in here with the wrench itself and a socket to torque these to spec. So I have some crow's feet on order that I'm going to get, and once I get the crow's feet, I'm going to torque these to spec. But everything else I have right now torqued to spec. So what I do, and this is just my personal thing that I do, is when I torque something to spec, I put a little blue paint mark on it, and that's just my personal indication that I have this torqued down. So this is already torqued and ready to go. As far as that, the brakes went together real smoothly. The rest of the suspension parts went together real smoothly. The manual is really good and detailed as far as that part of the build goes. So if you have any questions or comments or anything like that on the front suspension, please leave them below. If you've already done a truck build and I'm leaving something out, please leave a comment down below. Other than that, I think that should do it for the front suspension. Let's go ahead and move on to the back of the vehicle, and we'll talk about the rear suspension. Okay, let's talk rear suspension. So my rear axle, I ordered the Moser rear axle that Factory 5 offers in their list. Moser builds these axles specifically for the Factory 5 vehicles, and that's what I went with. It comes with a 355, it's an 8.8 with a 355 ratio with a locker. So that's the axle that I have in here. The only major hurdle that I ran into doing the rear suspension were the spacers. There's spacers in between your frame mounts here. For example, if you go in here, you can see there's 2 spacers right here. There's spacers in the front bottom links here. Only thing that I ran into there where sometimes the spacers were a little bit too thick, and I would have to grind them down a little bit. Now, a little mini lathe would probably work out fantastic in this application. I don't have one, so I just use a bench grinder and ground them down equally on both sides to get the spacers to fit the way they should. But some of them I had to probably grind about 100 thousandths off of them to get those in there. No big deal, just something to probably expect if you're going to be doing one of these builds. And I'm sure if you've already done one of these builds, you probably ran into the same issue, but I'd love to hear your solution in the comments down below also. But as far as the rest of the rear axle goes, the brakes went together really smoothly. No issues there. They do give you spacers depending on where your caliper is going to line out. My spacers ended up going into this position right here to get the calipers centered onto the rotor. But no big deal. They actually do call that out in the manual and tell you that you may have put spacers in different positions. It was the same for both sides. My track bar went in okay, the bottom control arms went in okay, the top link went okay. So no really major issues on the rear suspension here. So we'll go back up to the front while I got it all the way up in the air. You can kind of see it from below. So just give you some shots of the suspension from below to kind of see how it's going together. Again, the only bolts that I don't have torqued to spec right now are my castle nuts. Just waiting on a crow's foot. But like I mentioned, you can see a blue paint mark where I do actually have everything torqued to spec. And yeah, it's coming along nicely, I have to say. So far, no major issues. But you're going to have to expect when you're doing something like this to think outside of the box sometimes. The manual is pretty decent, but again, it's not, bolt A goes into hole B type of thing. So be aware of that. Next things we're going to be working on is steering and brakes. So if you want to keep seeing the future videos that we're going to be doing on our whole build series, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and please share. I really appreciate it. But that's it for this one, gang. Remember, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. All right, take care and see ya.